Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Cascadia. I know we're starting a little late. We've had so many people come in a little late. We were kind of holding a little bit to make sure we got everybody in here. We apologize for that, but it's going to be well worth it. My name is Cheryl Crooks. I am Executive Director of Cascadia International Women's Film Festival. We're so happy to have all of you here this evening. I have to just acknowledge a few people as we get going here with Barbara and Claudia Puig. First of all, I'd like to thank our sponsors for this evening's film is the San Juan Broadband. Are you here, San Juan Broadband? Sally, are you here? Okay. And for the conversation, our sponsor is Audrey Sager and Steve Gellerman. Steve and Audrey, thank you so much. We want to thank, for the festival sponsorships, we want to thank the City of Bellingham, Whatcomcounty, KCTS, and Crosscut, who have been with us for several years now, and without their support and that of all the other sponsors who you've seen on the screen, this would simply not be possible. We're very, very grateful for everything. Just a quick couple of notes for those of you who don't know. This is the 7th season for Cascadia. We are a film festival that shows only films directed by women, one of the few in the country. With this year, we will have shown the films of more than 220 women from 49 countries. We're very, very happy to have all of you here this evening. We're thrilled to have Barbara Kopple with us, who is a 2-time Academy Award winner for 2 documentary films. She's been nominated 9 times for Emmys. She's made more than 50 films in her career. We selected her as honored guest this year because our criteria for honored guest, we choose a woman who has, for their career, but also for what they have contributed to the film industry, and in particular what they have contributed to women in the film industry. And Barbara Kopple certainly feels that way. Anyway, we're thrilled to have her. I'm not going to say anything more because I do want to get them on stage here so that you can hear their conversation. And then her newest film, Gumbo Coalition, wait till you see it. I do want to announce that we are going to do like a 10-minute Q&A after the film. If you do want to stick around, Barbara said she'd love to do that, find out what you think about the movie and answer your questions. So we're going to do that. So without further ado, Barbara Kopple, Claudia Puig, our program director.
Always a wonderful treat to see all of you here, and it's a fantastic treat to be with Barbara.
Well, thank you. I feel the same way about you.
Yeah. So, you are an icon. I think you are one of the greatest.
What's an icon?
Not the things we have on our computers or our phones.
Is that like a dinosaur?
No, you are one of the greatest living documentary directors, the only woman to win 2 Oscars for documentary. And I am sure that you have influenced countless young filmmakers, particularly women, but all filmmakers. We just heard that there was someone who did their thesis on, or doctoral thesis, I think, on Harlan County, USA. And I'm sure some of you were here to see Harlan County earlier. So, there's been such a wide variety of subjects that you've covered. Mike Tyson, Gregory Peck, what were once the Dixie Chicks but are now the Chicks. Sharon Jones, how did that?
What? They're playing as we speak in Vegas this week.
And issues ranging from civil rights, gun control, mental illness, cancer, unions, drug addictions, a drought in the American West. Pretty much everything you ever want to know anything about. So how do you decide what to train your camera on?
Well, it usually has to be somebody that inspires me. But the most wonderful thing is when somebody calls you up and says, we have a budget. How would you like to do a film on Mike Tyson? I'd love to. So that's actually part of it. Because otherwise it's so difficult, to raise money, to do sizzle reels and to do decks, and then you have to entertain people, and I just love it when they call me up and ask me that.
Well, I would think that after all the accolades, after your years of experience doing this, after the awards, the Oscars, it would be easier to get money.
I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's not. It's very, very difficult. There's so many wonderful filmmakers out there and wanting to do their films, and there's only a certain amount of money that can go around.
Well, you had mentioned earlier, and I wanted to kind of delve a little deeper about being a woman when you made Harlan County, USA. You were a young woman in your 20s, and you're petite, and people kind of underestimated you, and that allowed you to kind of get into places that you might not ordinarily, or another filmmaker might not have gotten into.
Yeah, I think that I play that. That's the truth. I did a film on Mike Tyson. My title was The Baddest Man on the Planet, but Sony decided it should be The Untold Story of Mike Tyson, which was the only thing that was criticized in the film. But it was so wonderful because all these different people wanted to help me. They figured I knew nothing about him, nothing about fighting, and I could ask, any kind of questions that I wanted, touchy-feely questions, get them to really explain to me, why he went down and what they think of that. So it has served my purpose to be a woman and a documentarian.
Yeah. That's great. You got to use whatever you can.
Yes.
And when you made Harlan County, I mean, that was your first movie, and you faced a lot of peril, possibly more peril than any other film you've made, right?
Well, actually, the first film that we made was a collective called Winter Soldier, and it was Vietnam veterans telling stories of, what they had experienced. And we did the editing with a lot of them there, and you'd wake them up in the morning, and they'd still think that they had their weapon. And we did it, we got a place out in the country to do it and to do the editing, and it was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had, and I really loved working not only with the vets, but also the collective of people that were there. And every day different people would do chores, and I'd cook, or somebody else would clean house, or whatever it was, and then we'd edit things, and everybody would come around and talk. And that's also what happened to me when I was interning at Maisels. Albert and David Maisels, they did Grey Gardens and Give Me Shelter and What's Happening to Beatles and a lot of things, and they put you in a circle, and after you looked at the rough cut, and everybody had to give their opinion. And that really gave me a lot of self-confidence about, that people would listen to me if I spoke up. And that's very important. And I've carried that on through my entire time of doing films. Everybody has to come in, and when somebody hasn't seen it, it's great because we say, you're fresh meat. So you have to really tell us what you think. We're not finished. We'll take any criticism you want to give us. And it's been good. And the question was my first film on the challenges of Harlan County. And the biggest challenge was, I guess, staying alive and raising money to keep going. And D.A. Pennybaker was very helpful in that. He let me do a screening at his studio with, with all the people that I so admired, like Charlotte Swearin and Susan Steinberg and other people in the film community who I always looked up to. And I was absolutely petrified to do it, but of course I always go forward and go towards my fear. That's my number one thing I try to do. And they all seemed to like it. They had some criticisms, but he was so supportive in helping me. And in Harlan County, we had to get the film out quickly every day, and we shipped them to my father's office because we didn't know if they would, come in and raid it or take it or what would happen to it. I don't know.
Wow. And you were someone offered you some guns, right, to protect yourself?
Oh, yes. At the very first or second day I was in Harlan County, one of the organizers, Houston Elmore, said, "You have to have a gun." And I sort of said this earlier today, that here I am, this girl from, I hate to admit it, Scarsdale, New York, who had never touched a gun in her life. And so he opened this box, and there was this pretty tiny pink gun, and I picked that, not knowing what to do with
The
it.
Barbie gun.
Right, the Barbie gun for Barbie. Yes. And anyway, but later on I really learned how to fire a gun. I never fired it at anyone, but a .357 Magnum and, rifles and other things, so beware if you get in a fight with me.
You just said something really intriguing. You said you like to go toward the fear. And years ago I interviewed Amy Lee, who said almost the exact same thing. He said he only does things that scare him. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, doing this, my stomach is, very queasy. And I just like to see what the unknown is and to really move towards it and see if somehow I can conquer it and not let it take me. And I guess that's what the fear is about.
Love that. That's a great philosophy. So you were from that. I love that idea of being underestimated and using that too. But I also just really fascinated by the idea of what was it about documentaries? You made a film out of when you were supposed to do a report when you were studying psychology. What was it about documentaries that just you had to make?
Well, I went to school in Boston, Northeastern University, and they have a 6-month work study program. And so I decided to go to Medfield State Hospital because I was studying clinical psychology and, interview people, observe people. And I realized nobody is ever going to hear this or see this or feel this. If I write it, who's going to read it? My professor. So I decided to just get a little Super 8 camera and I filmed it all. And suddenly everything in my mind exploded that this is what I wanted to do. And a few years later from that, Frederick Wiseman did Titicaca Follies, which was censored and banned, and it only showed at one theater, I think, in Manhattan, and I flew back from Boston to see it. And I just knew that this was the work that I wanted to do. And I got my first job with these people, not a job, I was an intern with the Maisel brothers, David and Albert, who did Gimme Shelter, What's Happening to Beatles, Great Gardens, and they were just so wonderful to work with and so supportive, and almost the whole company was women. And also the assistant editor would leave me work at night, so I would learn, it was 16mm film, how to reconstitute, how to put things into lip sync, so I can tell if there's a word out in a film, or something like that.
So is that where you got experience, obviously, but you also did your own sound for a while? Was it
For a
already?
while. I did my own sound for 17 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes. One, it was conducive because I didn't have to pay myself. And two, I was very into content. I mean, I used a wireless mic in Harlan County, and you know, they were much bigger. And I would have one headphone pad on and one off, so I could hear what was happening here, and also hear what was happening, what we were getting, and could turn the cameraman around if he wasn't hearing it. And I always tried to get them to wear it, but that was difficult. But sound just put me right there. I didn't miss anything. And I always tell people who are starting out that they should direct and do sound because they won't miss anything in documentary.
That's great advice. So, one of the most essential things for a filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker, is to establish the trust and confidence of their subjects, right? And get them to open up so they feel comfortable. That seems like a real skill, which you obviously have. Was it your background in psychology that helped you with that? Was that just a natural trait that you had to get people to open up?
Well, I don't know, I grew up with parents who just totally loved and respected me and wanted me to do anything I wanted to do in life. They were incredible, and they said, anything goes wrong, don't be afraid to tell us. We have your back. We're on your side. And so that really gave me a lot of confidence that if I did something, you know, I wouldn't have to squirm through my parents. I wouldn't have to hold it in. There were people that I could tell. And I guess in gaining trust from people, I just wanted those people to bloom. I wanted them to be as, you know, comfortable as they possibly could with me, because this was going to be their story. And I'm not a filmmaker, and I got you a filmmaker. I'm a filmmaker, I hope, that really cares and has more humane sensibilities towards people.
Woo! So when you first made Harlan County, you were embedded there for 13 months, I think you said?
Well, actually longer. Harlan County was 13 months, but I started out with the Miller Trovovich election. So, and also finding, you know, people who could tell me stories of the history of coal mining and old-time singers, like if you saw the film today, Nimrod Workman, and then his daughter Phyllis Boyens, and Joe Doors, who, you know, really talked about the Breaker Boys and the first Breaker Boy strike. So I just went sort of running around finding these people and going into television stations then and seeing if I could, you know, take any coal mining footage that they would let me have, because they just threw it out. And I did that.
That's amazing. So, being that this is a women's film festival, what advice specifically do you give to women working in the documentary space, which I think is a little bit more open to women than their film space?
Right. Well, I said this morning, but you know, more men are doing documentaries, even celebrities like, you know, Martin Scorsese and other people like that are doing. But when I first started, men did not want to do documentaries. There was no money, and you just, you know, had to stay there for a very, very long time. And so it was more open to women because men didn't care. And I guess that I would say to a young filmmaker who's considering documentary, learn everything you can. Learn sound, learn camera, learn editing, so that nobody can ever tell you that you can't do something. If somebody says no, just dismiss them and go on to the next person.
Don't take no for an
Wait.
answer. Face the fears. These
Yeah.
are good, very good. This
Yes.
is probably good for all of life.
I guess so. But also too, if you're passionate about it, people will help you. people will want to help you. So just go for it. I mean, if any of you want to do it and don't know how, call me up and I'll help. I'll do whatever I can, because we all need to be successful in doing them, and the more successful we are, the better the films are, and the better the messages that get sent out to people, that these films aren't boring, that they're funny, they're entertaining, they let you know a lot, but they let you know a lot through the great people that are being filmed. So,
Has the way you make films changed at all over the decades that you've been doing this a while?
every film depends on the story. So, you know, you wouldn't do Harlan County in the same way you might do Sharon Jones.
Yeah.
So it's all different. You have to see what the story is or what you think it is and go with it.
What would you say, like, the biggest change technically that's come about, or just?
Well, that we're not using 16mm film anymore, which is sad. The cameras change almost every other month. Everything's done on an Avid or not on a Steenbeck anymore. I mean, lots of changes all the time.
Yeah.
Everything's digital. You can't touch it and feel it, but it's quicker, I guess.
Yeah. So you have a film that you're going to be making about Teamsters and about unionizing.
Well, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, I know it's always a thing.
Yeah. We've been filming them, but that doesn't mean it's gonna happen. I putting my feet in the water, you know, we don't have money for it, but we're doing it. But I have a secret film that I want to do more than anything. So, yeah. What? No, because I don't get to do it.
So, after Harlan, you didn't finish another film documentary until 1990, is that right?
No, I was doing sound and editing on millions of other films, like No Nukes and commercials and anything. Yeah.
And then you did some narrative films as well.
Narrative
So
films
let's talk
as
about the
well.
difference in filmmaking when it comes to documentaries.
Okay. I did a film called Havoc, and it was with Annie Hathaway, Bijou Phillips, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. It didn't get great reviews, but I had a great time doing it. And I also did Homicide, Life on the Street. I did a bunch of those, and I did Oz. And I'll tell you a story from Homicide, Life on the Street. So unbeknownst to me, they gave me the hardest one to do. It was called the documentary. But it was, usually they just had two characters, two cops that you followed. I had all of them. And it was being done by this documentary filmmaker who was filming what they were doing, and then I'd have to have the actors do what he was filming. And it was a tremendous amount of work in a very short period of time. And Yaphet Kotto, who was one of the characters, and he was the chief of police there, he said to me, and I went, yes, Yaphet. And he said, I don't have many lines in this, so I think I'm going to go into my honey wagon. And I said, Yaphet, I said, these are your people. I said, when we put the camera on you, that's the money shot. I couldn't believe I said that, but he loved it. And then I had another scene with, then when we were changing lights, he came over and he apologized. And the first AD said, I've never heard Yaphet apologize to anybody. And then I was doing Andrew Brower. And he said, so you're a documentarian, so we only have to do one take. And I said, no, Andrew. What we do is we stay there, even if it's all night, to get what we need. He went, all right, I get it. And it makes you not afraid, because you're searching for something that's a semblance of being real. And so when you do fiction, that's what you're aiming for. So I wasn't afraid. I mean, I was machine gunned and semi-automatic carbines in Harlan County, so why would I be afraid of Yaphet Kotto or Randall Brower?
Is there a genre that you haven't done yet that you would love to do?
Yeah, I want to do a big feature film on the screen, and I wanted to do this one for 20 years, and I finally got the rights to the book, and I am now, with very little funds, looking for a writer, but of course not during the writer's strike.
Well,
It's a wonderful story.
Ooh, okay, you have definitely piqued our interest, kind of thing here. Between that and a secret project.
But that's always